Let's talk about changing holding coils on contactors. We know that a contactor, once you energize a contactor, it creates a magnetic field right down the middle that actually engages the contactor. But sometimes what happens is you've got a situation where a holding coil is actually getting voltage, but it's not creating the magnetic field necessary in order to close the contactor. So we have to replace the holding coil. In this particular situation, with the contactor, the existing contactor, it's obsolete, and so the holding coil wasn't available. Customer here has got 208 volt power. The new replacement contactors only come in 220, 240 volt configuration, and that's indicated by the numbers on the holding coil, 220 volt. You can see that. This is the original one that was inside. It says 220, 240. So we've removed this holding coil from this contactor and installed the 208 version. You can see the 200, 220, 208, 240. So what we're going to do is, before I install this, we're going to show how that comes apart. Now, the old contactor that was actually inside the machine, this is the top half, and then the bottom half is inside, and you can see the small screws right up here at the top. Usually you're going to have some screws, for example, like right here, that you unscrew, and then there will be another one down on the bottom. There's another screw right here, and they actually will hold the top of that contactor right into the base. That's the hole where the screw goes, and that's the hole where the screw goes. So basically all I did was I just took and I unscrewed in the contactor. I unscrewed the back top screw after disconnecting and labeling the wires. The bottom screw, disconnecting and labeling the wires, pull it out, and then what you're left with is the holding coil that goes inside. Okay, and there's always a spring. This one happens to have the spring still mounted on the back of it, so you just want to be alert that there's always going to be a spring there. Okay, so what we do is we take the holding coil out, and just to prove it out, what we do is make sure that it actually is bad, is I went ahead and I put my voltmeter on continuity, and we take our test leads, and we put one test lead here, and then we put the other test lead on the other side. We put one test lead there, one test lead there, and basically all this is just a wound up piece of wire. And when you apply voltage to it, as the voltage goes around, it creates a magnetic field inside. So if this wire is burnt out, and you can kind of see where it's dark right up in here, which is an indication it's probably burned out. But that little wire, it's a real small, tiny little wire. It doesn't take a whole lot to burn that out. Then it'll indicate an open circuit, which is what's happened here. Is that if you do if you put your test clips right here, then you're not reading any continuity, which means that it's an open circuit, which you can apply voltage to that all day long and it'll never create a magnetic field. So you'll have some of these contactors where the top comes off because it's screwed on, and this one is a newer style one, and down inside this little slot right there, there's a little U-clip. So I take a small little screwdriver and I just release that little U-clip, and it's spring loaded. And then I do the same thing right over here. Just take and pop that out, just pry that out. And the whole cover will come right off. It's a lot easier doing it with two hands. Let me see. There we go. That side came up. Release that one. Okay, now this whole thing's just going to basically come up. Okay, so you've got this piece, and you've got your spring, and you've got your holding coil. Just comes right out, just sits down right inside there. Now I've already installed it. Typically this is the original one that came with the contactor. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my 208. My 208 drops right back down inside there, sits in there nice. Put this inside here. We put the spring right back on there. As you put the spring back on there, then as you go ahead and close it back down again, everything goes back together again, nice and neat and clean. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and reattach those U-clips Once it's all down, then we go right back up inside this little slot, and you put that U-clip back on the front, on the top and on the bottom. That way it holds the top of the contactor in place, which keeps the holding coil in place too. And then that's how you change out a holding coil in a contactor. If you have any questions, contact your supervisor, or you can contact us on the web at www.aefresno.com.